Y nos seguimos viendo en Stanley Parable. Eso sería el tercer vídeo que hago de este juego. Me está gustando. Me gusta. Es entretenido. Aunque no tiene una verdadera historia. Es entretenido. Muy entretenido. Todavía me quedan un par de cosas que hacer. Como contestar a la llamada. Y sigo jugando. Sigue siendo el mismo día que empecé la primera parte. Click to skip. Sí, ya lo vi eso. Ya lo he visto hoy. Hoy mismo.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean?
No lo sé.
Stanley decided to go to the meeting.
Y aún sigo sin saberlo.
Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
Soy tan pro que enseguida tengo
When
que...
Stanley came to a set of two
te
open
calles.
doors. This was not the correct way to the meeting room, and Stanley knew it perfectly well.
Sí,
Perhaps
sí.
he wanted to stop by the employee lounge first, just to admire it. Standing now in this incredible room, Stanley for the first, but eager to get back to business, Stanley took the first open door on his left.
Exacto.
Stanley was so bad at following directions, it's incredible he wasn't fired years ago.
¿Y si me tiro? ¡Uy!
But in his eagerness to prove that he is in control of the story and no one gets to tell him what to do, Stanley leapt from the platform and plunged to his death.
¿Qué?
Good job, Stanley. Everyone thinks you are very powerful.
¡Bien! ¡Bien, me suicidé! Muy bien, Stanley. Muy bien. Muy bien, Stanley.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean?
Nadie lo sabe.
Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
Espera, ¿qué? 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 Esta sala no la he visto yo antes. No me suena. Esta sala antes no era azul.
When Stanley came to a set of two open doors, he entered the door on his left. This was not the correct way to the meeting room, and
Espera un
Stanley
momento.
knew it perfectly well. Perhaps he wanted to stop by the employee lounge first, just to admire it.
No, se ha vuelto a ir a la mierda el sonido. Bueno, es igual, me la suda.
Stanley felt lightheaded, butterflies in his stomach, but eager to get back to business, Stanley took the first open door on his left.
¿Por qué te trabas? Trabas.
Stanley was so bad at following
Por lo menos,
directions.
que te calles. Mierda, que no había puesto grabando. Vamos para allá.
Look, Stanley, I think perhaps we've gotten off on the wrong foot here. I'm not your enemy, really, I'm not. I realize that investing your trust in someone else can be difficult, but the fact is that the story has been about nothing but you all this time. There's someone you've been neglecting, Stanley. Someone you've forgotten about. Please, stop trying to make every decision by yourself.
Coño. A ella, otra vez ella. Se refiere a la voz esa de la tipa.
This is it, Stanley. Your chance to redeem yourself. To put your work aside. To let her back into your life. She's been waiting.
Esa es el contexto.
That's her, Stan.
Ella. ¿Qué es esto?
Oh, Stanley, is that you?
Sí.
Hold on, sweetie. Sorry to keep you waiting.
Mi mujer.
I'm just pulling the bread out of the oven.
Tengo una mujer.
All right. Okay, there we go. All right, now, I want you to come in and tell me all about your day.
¿Qué?
Gotcha.
No tiene ni puta gracia.
Oh, come on. Did you actually think you had a loving wife?
Pues sí.
Who'd want to commit their life to you?
Sí.
I'm trying to make a point here, Stanley. I'm trying to get you to see something. Come inside. Let me show you what's really going on here.
La mierda, que te jodan.
Sorry, but you're in my story now.
Cabrón.
This is a very sad story about
Pues
the
sí.
death of a man named Stanley.
La muerte de un hombre llamado Stanley. Eso sí, gracias. Luz morir. Presiona O para... Vale. Estoy presionando O. Ah, no, 0.
Stanley is quite a boring fellow. He has a job that demands nothing of him, and every button that he pushes is a reminder of the inconsequential nature of his existence.
Presiona E.
Look at him there, pushing buttons, doing exactly what he's told to do.
Pues sí, está haciendo
Now
justo
he's
lo que
pushing a
dice.
button. Now he's eating lunch. Now he's going home. Now he's coming back to work.
Que no me queda otra.
One might even feel sorry for him, except that he's chosen this life.
L.
But in his mind, in his mind he can go on fantastic adventures. From behind his desk, Stanley dreamed of wild expeditions into the unknown, fantastic discoveries of new lands. It was wonderful, and each day that he returned to work was a reminder that none of it would ever happen to him.
Set to watch TV.
And so he began to fantasize about his own job. First, he
Se
imagined
transformó
that
en un-
one day while at work, he stepped up from his desk to realize that all of his co-workers, his boss, everyone in the building had suddenly vanished off the face of the earth. The thought excited him terribly.
Los Bernstein with the voice.
So he went further. He imagined that he came to two open doors
Que
and
quiero
that
ir a la
he could
cama
go
y
through
dormir, ¿no?
either. At last, choice. It barely even mattered what lay behind each door. The mere thought that his decisions would mean something was almost too wonderful to behold.
8 de preparadina.
As he wandered through this
¿Qué
fantasy
cojones?
world, he began to fill it with many possible paths and
No!
destinations. Down one path lay an enormous round room with monitors and mind controls. And down another was a yellow line that weaved in many directions. And down another was a game with a baby. And he called it the Stanley Parable. It was such a wonderful fantasy, and so in his head he relived it again, and then again, and again, over and over, wishing
No.
beyond hope that it would never
No,
end,
no es cierto
that
que me
he might
dices.
always feel this free.
Yo no.
Surely there's an answer down some
No es
new
todo
path.
en mi imaginación.
Maybe, perhaps if he played just one more time. But there is no answer. How could
No.
there possibly be?
No.
In reality, all he's doing is pushing the same buttons he always has. Nothing has changed. The longer he spends here, the more invested he gets, the more he forgets which life is the real one.
Way to sleep.
And I'm trying to tell him this.
Quiero
That in
dormir.
this world he can never be anything but an observer. That as long as he remains here, he's slowly killing himself. But he won't listen to me. He won't stop. Here, watch this. Stanley, the next time the screen asks you to push a button, do not do it.
Vale, no pulsar el botón. Vale, lo pulso.
You see? Can he just not hear me? How can I tell him in a way that he'll understand that every
Tú traes
second he
aquí.
remains here, he's electing to kill himself? How can I get him to see what I see? How can I make him look at himself?
No cuestión no, para preguntar nada.
I suppose I can't, not in the way I want him to. But I don't make the rules. I simply play to my intended purpose, the same as Stanley. We're not so different, I suppose. I'll try once more to convey all this to him. I'm compelled to. I must. Perhaps, well, maybe this time he'll see. Maybe this time. And I tried again.
Please die.
And
No.
Stanley pushed a button. And I tried again. And Stanley pushed a button. And I...
No. No sé qué coño ha pasado. No. No entiendo nada. Este juego es muy raro, pero muy divertido.
All
Otra
of
vez.
his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting
Me
room.
gusta este
Perhaps
juego.
he had simply
Es
missed the memo.
entretenido. Y el narrador también es entretenido. Venga, que te voy a hacer caso esta vez. Yo creo que esta sala antes no estaba. ¿Esto azul? No estoy seguro, pero vamos, no me suena.
When Stanley came to a set of 2 open
¿Las
doors,
dos están
he
abiertas
entered the
ya?
door on his left.
Sí, entro, ya voy. Ah. Nada.
Yet there was not a single person here either. Feeling a wave of disbelief, Stanley decided to go up to his boss's office.
No,
Coming
esta
to
voy a
a
ir para abajo,
staircase,
que te jodan.
Stanley walked upstairs to his boss's office.
Ese sitio no me gusta.
But Stanley just couldn't do it.
Mierda.
He considered the possibility of facing his boss, admitting he had left his post during work hours. He might be fired for that. And in such a competitive economy, why had he taken that risk? All because he believed everyone had vanished? His boss would think he was crazy.
Que estaba
And then
loco.
something occurred to Stanley. Maybe, he thought to himself, maybe I am crazy.
Que está loco.
All of my co-workers blinking mysteriously out of existence in a single moment for no reason at all. None of it made any logical sense. And as Stanley pondered this, he began to make other strange observations. For example, why couldn't he see his feet when he looked down?
No,
Why
porque
did
no se ven
doors
los
close
pies.
automatically behind him wherever he went?
Las puertas se
And for
cierran
that
cuando
matter,
pasa.
these rooms were starting to look pretty familiar. Were they simply repeating? No, Stanley said to himself, this is all too strange. This can't be real. And at last, he came to the conclusion that had been on the tip of his tongue. He just hadn't found the words for it.
No.
I'm dreaming!
Es un sueño.
He yelled. This is all a dream.
Es todo un sueño.
Oh, what a relief Stanley felt to have finally found an answer, an explanation. His co-workers weren't actually gone. He wasn't going to lose his job. He wasn't crazy after all. And he thought to himself, I suppose I'll wake up soon. I'll have to go back to my boring real-life job pushing buttons. I may as well enjoy this while I'm still lucid.
Exacto.
So, he imagined himself flying and began to gently float above the ground. Then he imagined himself soaring through space on a magical starfield, and it too appeared. It was so much fun, and Stanley marveled that he had still not woken up. How was he remaining so lucid? And then perhaps the strangest question of them all entered Stanley's head. One he was amazed he hadn't asked himself sooner. Why is there a voice in my head?
Porque hay una voz en mi cabeza dictando todo lo que estoy haciendo y todo lo que
Now
pienso.
the voice was describing itself being considered by Stanley, who found it particularly strange. I'm dreaming about a
Estoy
voice
soñando sobre una voz
describing
que
me,
describe todo
thinking
lo que
about how it's describing
digo
my
y
thoughts,
pienso.
he thought. And while he thought it all very odd and wondered if this voice spoke to all people in their dreams, the truth was that, of course, this was not a
Esto
dream.
no es un sueño.
How could it be? Was Stanley
Entonces,
simply
¿qué es?
deceiving himself? Believing that if he's asleep, he doesn't have to take responsibility for himself? Stanley is as awake right now as he's ever been in his life. Now, hearing the voice speak these words was quite a shock to Stanley. After all, he knew for certain, beyond a doubt, that this was in fact a dream.
Esto tiene que
Did
ser
the
un
voice not
sueño.
see him float and make the magical stars just a moment ago? How
Exacto.
else would the voice explain all that? This voice was a part of himself too. Surely, if he could just... He would prove it. He would prove that he was in control, that this was a dream.
Esto era un sueño.
So he closed his eyes gently, and he invited himself to wake up.
Ah,
He felt the cool weight of the blanket on his
cierra los
skin,
ojos.
the press of the mattress on his back, the fresh air of a world outside this one. Let me wake up, he thought to himself. I'm through
Déjame
with this
levantarme.
dream.
Déjame
I wish it
despertarme.
to be over.
Quiere que
Let
acabe,
me go back to my
que
job.
vuelva a
Let
su
me continue
trabajo, a
pushing the
pulsar
buttons.
botones.
Please.
Quiere acabar el sueño.
It's all I want. I want my apartment,
Quiero mi
and my
apartamento, mi esposa,
my job.
mi trabajo,
all I want
todo
is
lo
my
que era
life
mi
exactly
vida
the way it's
exactamente
always
como
been.
solía ser.
My life is normal.
Mi vida es normal.
I
Yo soy
am
normal. Todo está
Everything will
bien.
be fine. I am
Estoy
okay.
bien. Vale. Sigo en esta puta mierda de sitio.
Stanley began screaming.
Sí.
Please, someone wake me up. My name is
Despertadme.
Stanley.
Mi
I
nombre
have
es
a boss,
Stanley.
I
Tengo
have
un
an
jefe.
office, I am real.
Tengo una
Please,
oficina.
just
Soy
someone
real.
tell me
Por
I'm
favor,
real.
que alguien
I
me
must
despierte.
be
Soy real.
Must
Debo ser real.
anyone hear my voice? Who
Que alguien me puede oír mi voz. ¿Quién soy? ¿Quién soy?
went black.
Y todo se puso oscuro. Oh, Dios mío, qué mal rollo. Pobre Stanley.
This is the story of a woman named Mariella.
¿Eh? ¿Mariela? ¿Qué?
Mariella woke up on a day like any other. She arose, got dressed, gathered her belongings, and walked to her place of work.
¿Qué?
But on this particular day, her walk was interrupted by the body of a man who had stumbled through town talking and screaming to himself, and then collapsed dead on the sidewalk. And although she would soon turn to go call for an ambulance, for just a few brief moments, she considered the strange man.
¡No! ¡Stanley!
This
Está loco.
Everyone knows what crazy people
Todo el mundo sabe cómo luce una
And in
persona
that
loca.
moment, she
Así
thought
que en ese
to herself
momento,
how lucky she was.
ella se sentía afortunada de ser
I am
normal.
sane. I
Y es-
am in control
Yo no
of
estoy
my
loca,
life.
yo
I know what is real
sé lo que es
and
real
what
y
isn't.
qué no es real.
It was comforting to think this, and in a certain way, seeing this man made her feel better. But then she remembered the meeting she had scheduled for that day. The very important people whose impressions of her would affect her career, and by extension, the rest of
Se traba, sí, ya lo
her
sé.
life. She had no time for this, so it was only a moment that she stood there, staring down at the body. And then she turned and ran.
Ese se dio la vuelta y se largó. Pobre Stanley, da pena. Este hombre da pena. Da mucha pena. Pobre hombre. Que no ha hecho nada. Ah, otra vez. Otra vez.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean?
Venga, ahora sí, lo
Stanley
vamos a hacer
decided to
todo
go to the
bien.
meeting room.
Esta
Perhaps
es sin
he had simply
instrucciones.
missed a memo.
Vamos a pasarnos este puto juego bien.
When Stanley came to a set
Lo
of
sé.
2 open doors, he entered the door on his left.
Lo sé. Lo sé.
Yet there was not a single person here either. Feeling a wave of disbelief, Stanley decided to go up to his boss's office. Coming to a staircase, Stanley walked upstairs to his boss's office.
Hola jefe, venga, llevo una jefa.
Stepping into his manager's office, Stanley was once again stunned to discover not an indication of any human life. What could it mean? Stanley was in such a rush to get through the story as quickly as possible, he didn't even have a single minute to just let the narrator talk. That kind of anxiety isn't healthy, so he relaxed for a few moments with some calming New Age music.
¿Qué? Que no le dejo ni hablar. Este me acordaba porque me lo estoy pasando toda la vez. O sea, vosotros lo habréis visto 3 días
Feeling
distintos.
soothed and rejuvenated, Stanley calmly walked forward into the opened passageway.
Ok, vamos por abajo. Uy. Pues nada, oye. Nada. Oye, el narrador a veces es cruel y me cae fatal y otras veces es buena gente y me cae bien. Es muy confuso. Depende de si le hago caso o no.
Stanley walked straight ahead through the large door that
Mind
read
control
Mind
facility.
Control Facility.
Vale. Venga, ¿y ahora qué?
The lights rose on an enormous room packed with television screens.
Ya veo, ya.
What horrible secret did this place hold?
Ya lo sé, ya lo he
Stanley
visto.
thought to himself. Did he have the strength to find out?
Sí, sí, ya lo he visto, esto, ya lo sé, imbécil. Me hiciste spoiler.
Now the monitors jumped to life, their true nature revealed. Each bore the number of an employee in the building, Stanley's co-workers.
Todos
The
los
lives of
trabajadores.
so many individuals reduced to images on a screen, and Stanley, one of them, eternally monitored in this place where freedom meant nothing.
Ya. Sí, ya lo sé. Que ya lo vi, imbécil.
This mind control facility, it was too horrible to
Es demasiado
believe it
horrible para
couldn't be
creer.
true. Had Stanley really been under someone's control all this time? Was this the only reason he was happy with his boring job? That his emotions had been manipulated to accept it blindly?
Exacto.
No. He refused to believe it. He couldn't accept it. His own life in someone else's control? Never. It was
Mi vida siendo
unthinkable,
controlada? Nunca.
wasn't it?
Eso es
Was it even
impensable.
possible?
¿Eso es posible
Had he
siquiera?
truly spent his entire life utterly blind to the world?
¡Oh! City Power, oh Dios mío, cómo se traba esto de repente. Vale.
Here was the proof. The heart of the operation. Controls labeled with emotions. Happy, or sad, or content. Walking, eating, working. All of it monitored and commanded from this very
Me
place.
controlo
And
yo.
as the cold reality of his past began to sink in, Stanley decided that this machinery would never again exert its terrible power over another human.
Apagar. ¿Qué? ¿Qué he hecho? ¿Qué he hecho, juego? ¿He apagado el juego? ¿Es posible? No. ¿Qué? Sé que me muevo, pero no veo nada.
And a rising chill of uncertainty. Was it over?
¿Esto ha acabado?
Yes.
Sí,
He had won.
él
He
ganó.
had defeated the machine.
Él ha derrotado a la
Unshackled
máquina.
himself from someone else's command. Freedom was mere moments away.
Ah,
And yet, even as the immense door slowly opened, Stanley reflected on how many puzzles still lay
¿cuántos
unsolved.
puzzles sin sí.
Where had his co-workers
¿Qué pasó
gone?
con sus compañeros?
How had he been freed from the machine's grasp?
¿Qué
What
creó la
other mysteries
máquina,
did this
joder?
strange building hold? But as sunlight streamed into the chamber, he realized none of this mattered
Se dio
to
cuenta de que eso estaba
for
igual.
it was not knowledge or even power
Ah, no
that
le
he had
importa.
been seeking, but happiness. Perhaps his goal had not been to understand.
La libertad.
No longer would anyone tell him where to go. what to
Nadie
do,
más tendrá que decir
or how to
a
follow.
dónde tiene que ir.
Whatever life he lives, it will be his. And that was all he needed to know.
Pero si tú me estás diciendo todo lo que tengo que hacer, no me
The
jodas.
only thing worth knowing. Stanley stepped through the open door.
No me da la puta gana. Ahí te quedas, gilipollas. No me va a decir nada ni se va a cabrear. Pues entonces salgamos de aquí. La libertad. Yo creo que es bastante falsa, teniendo en cuenta de quién
Stanley
viene.
felt the cool
Ah, no me puedo
breeze upon
mover.
his skin, the feeling of liberation, the immense possibility of the new path before him. This was exactly the way, right now, that things were meant to happen.
¿Cómo tendrían que ocurrir las
And
cosas?
Stanley was happy.
Una mierda que fui feliz, pero si... si me has controlado, por favor, si me has hecho hacer eso. No es lo que quería Stanley de verdad. Cabronazo. Un cabronazo. Te callas. Hijo puta. Hijo puta. Hijo puta. Cabronazo. Eso no era lo que Stanley quería. Cabrón. Oh Dios,
Stanley
casi
decided
lo
to go to
olvido.
the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed
Si
the
se me ha
memo.
olvidado lo más importante. Ir por la puerta roja. Fui por la azul, pero al final olvidé ir por la puerta roja.
When Stanley came to a set of two open, this was not the correct way to the meeting room, and Stanley knew it perfectly well. Perhaps he wanted to stop by the employee lounge first, just to admire it. And here it was, the lounge. But eager to get back to business, Stanley took the first open door on his left.
Acabo de hacer lo de la línea
Stanley
amarilla
was
otra
so
vez.
bad at following
A ver si
directions, it's
había
incredible
algún
he
otro
wasn't
sitio, pero
5
no,
years
no lo
ago.
había. No lo voy a poner al final, pero que sepáis
Look,
que lo he
Stanley,
vuelto a
I think
hacer.
perhaps we've gotten off on the wrong foot
Joder, qué
here.
música más chula.
I'm not your
Cuando estás
enemy,
siguiendo
really,
la
I'm
línea.
not. I realize that investing in your trust in someone else can be difficult, but the fact is that the story has been about... What? Really?
Sí,
I was in
really.
the middle of something. Do you have zero consideration for others? Are you
Exacto.
that convinced that I want something bad to happen to you? What?
Exacto.
I don't know how to convince you of this, but I really do want to help you, to show you something beautiful. Look, let me prove it. Let
Esa
me
puerta no
prove
puedo ir,
that I'm
¿no?
on your side. Give
Ah,
me a
está
chance.
cerrada.
Now listen carefully, this is important. Stanley walked through the red door.
Ya voy. Una tontería.
Oh, thank God you are willing to listen to me.
Exacto.
Do you see that I really have wanted you to be happy all this time? The problem is all these choices. The two of us always trying to get somewhere that isn't here. Running and running and running, just the way you're doing right now. Don't you see that it's killing us, Stanley? I wanted to stop. We would both be so much happier
Ya he
if
parado.
we just stopped. And I think I have a solution. Here, let me show you.
Lo sabía. Espera, ¿qué es esto? Oh. Muy bien.
What do we want? What are we looking for?
¿Qué es esto?
Here. Yes.
Oh.
Oh, it's beautiful, isn't it?
Sí.
If we just stay right here, right in this moment with this place, Stanley, I think I feel happy. I actually feel happy.
Sí, es hermoso. Oh. 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 Me largo de aquí.
No, wait. Where are you going?
Pues me voy de ahí. ¿Qué es esto?
Oh no. Stay away from those stairs. If you hurt yourself, if you die, the game will reset. We'll lose all of this.
Perderemos esto. Pues te jodes.
Please, no, Stanley, let me stay here. Don't take this from me.
Lo siento. Oh, Dios, ¿me va a suicidar? ¿En serio? ¿Le voy a joder? ¡Hala!
No!
¿Qué?
Oh, thank God you lived. You had me worried there for a moment. Now, can we please get back to the other room?
Vale, venga, volvamos a la otra sala. ¡Wow! ¡Wow!
There. See? This is what you want. This is where we can both be happy.
Seremos felices aquí.
And if we stop moving, we just have to stop moving.
Seremos felices estando aquí. Me vuelvo a largar.
Stanley, go back. There's nothing good that can come from this.
¡Hala! No me he roto las piernas antes.
No, what are you doing? Do you just not believe me? What can I say to convince you?
No puedes convencerme, no tienes nada que ofrecerme. Ofréceme gorros para Team Fortress 2 y igual me lo pienso. ¡Abierto todo!
Stanley, let's go back to the other room. Can you do that for me?
Bueno, vale, si me lo pides así. Volvamos a...
Yes. Perhaps you can. Perhaps you finally see what I'm talking about. I know you'll see that we can't be happy if we leave this place. You can see that, can't you?
Sí, igual es lo que hablaba la voz esa. De la tipa esa. Podemos ser felices si queremos. Pero no lo seremos. Porque soy un cabrón.
No, perhaps not.
Ahora sí que me va a matar, que la tercera siempre va a la vencida.
My God, is this really how much you dislike my
Sí,
game?
odio tu
That
juego.
you'll throw yourself from this platform over and over to be rid of it? You're
Exacto,
literally willing to kill yourself to keep me from being happy.
exacto.
Am I reading the situation correctly?
Sí. Lo siento, narrador. Me está dando hasta pena y todo, pero... No he olvidado el ending de yo estoy loco, me muero por tu culpa, y luego viene la tipa esa y dice, ah, yo soy normal, qué bien. Vas a perder toda tu felicidad. Vamos, Stanley. sigue
Maybe
vivo.
you're just getting a kick out of it. I don't know anymore. I just wanted us to get along. But I guess that was too much to ask.
Oh, qué pena.
It looks like you wanted to make a choice after all. Well, this one is yours.
No, venga, volvamos para atrás.
Do you actually want to stay alive? Or are you just teasing me?
Yo estoy probando. Míralo, míralo, qué bonito.
I wanted us to be happy here, Stanley. I really did. I wish I still thought that was possible.
Pobrecito. Pero no voy a hacerlo. No voy a hacerlo. Oh sí, venga, sí, vamos a quedarnos. Es que es un sitio bonito, ¿sabes? Es muy bonito. Y entiendo por qué puede ser feliz aquí, porque es bonito el sitio. Pero no va a ser posible, narrador. Después de las cosas que me has hecho, ya no. Bueno, narrador, creo que llegó el momento. Vamos, Stanley. Esta es la última. Esta vez sí que sí vamos a morir, así que... Stanley, no tienes nada que perder. Tu mujer es un maniquí. Tus compañeros de trabajo y tu jefe no existen. No, tu jefe no existe, eso es bueno. Y el narrador este no va a dejar de torturarte y controlarte, así que... Vamos allá.
Is it over? It's going to restart, isn't it? I'm going back.
Pobrecito. Bueno, creo que ya vamos a dejar esto. Para siempre. Me quedará algún que otro final seguramente. Pero no voy a hacerlo.
But Stanley simply couldn't handle the pressure. What if he had to make a decision? What if a crucial outcome fell under his responsibility? He had never been trained for that. No. This couldn't go any way except badly. The thing to do now, Stanley thought to himself, is to wait. Nothing will hurt me. Nothing will break me. In here I can be happy forever. I will be happy. Stanley waited. Hours passed.
Esto es un final, de verdad.
Had years gone by? He no longer had the ability to tell. But the one thing he knew for sure, beyond any doubt, was that if he waited long enough, the answers would come. Eventually, someday, they would arrive. Soon, very soon now, this will end. He will be spoken to. He will be told what to do. Now it's just a little bit closer. Now it's even closer. Here it comes.
¿Y ya está? Bueno, pues esto ha sido de Stanley Parable. Seguro que me queda algún final, pero paso. ¿Qué? ¿Qué?
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
¿Qué? ¿Qué?
Stanley went around touching every little thing in the office, but it didn't make a single difference.
Esto ha cambiado y
Nor
mucho.
did it advance the story in any way.
¿Qué? ¿Por qué ha cambiado de golpe tanto? Welcome to the whiteboard ending. Console Park. ¡Ah! ¿En serio? Este juego está lleno de secretos y de chorradas que yo no me puedo permitir el lujo de explorar. Y un cuadro también. Nos veremos en el próximo vídeo de alguna otra cosa, porque Stanley Parable ya no más. Demasiadas tonterías para explorar. Si queréis ver más, o lo buscáis en YouTube, o lo jugáis vosotros mismos. Adiós. Lo dejo así. Adiós. Parará, da, 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 da.